Salutations, my Fallout lovers. It is Maddie here today with some interesting insight from Chris Avellone, a former Fallout developer, and this is from an interview on SugarBombed.com with my boy Monty. It'll be linked in the description down below if you guys want to check it out because it offers a ton of information, but we're going to be focusing on today is the future of Fallout, Fallout New Orleans, as well as Obsidian Entertainment, the potential of them being bought out, and so on. So without further ado, let's dive into the first question from Monty, in which he says, in an interview with Inside Gaming in 2013, you mentioned that one of the locations you'd like to see a hypothetical new Fallout game from Obsidian be located is New Orleans, Louisiana. Now Obsidian has confirmed that they are working on a Project Louisiana. This, along with Obsidian's interest in the location as stated before, along with J.E. Sawyer tweeting out Louisiana field notes, seems to indicate that Obsidian is working on a game set there. Now this obviously doesn't mean it has to be a Fallout game, but what do you think it is about Louisiana and New Orleans from your experience with Obsidian that makes them want to set a game there? Chris responds and says, states have been publicly revealed as code names for Obsidian's projects. I can't reveal what they're actually doing. So, you know, the person who had the idea for Fallout New Orleans is no longer there. He left many years ago, not long after the mass layoffs. And the last person to publicly advocate the desire to do a Fallout game has also departed the studio. So this actually gives us some insight on what Project Louisiana is. A lot of Fallout fans speculated this has to be the new Fallout game, but in fact, it seems that it's been publicly revealed somewhere that code names for Obsidian projects are named after states. So perhaps this has something to do with Louisiana, or if it was just, hey, let's pick Louisiana, I have no idea. What's also interesting is that a lot of people are leaving the studio. There's mass layoffs, and the person who had the idea for New Orleans isn't there any longer, and other people who have publicly advocated for a Fallout game have also departed the studio, meaning that opinions are changing, ideas are changing, and perhaps the new people filling in these holes don't want to make a Fallout game or don't have plans of making a Fallout game. Very interesting turn of events there, but also I want to mention that this next question has hypothetical in it 3 times, and that's to emphasize that it is hypothetical in case Chris's answer was yes. So Monty says, hypothetically, if Obsidian were to make a hypothetical new Fallout spin-off, would you hypothetically want to go back to Obsidian and have some involvement with it, being that Fallout is so close to your heart? To my surprise, Chris says no. While I like the developers and wish them all the best, there's too many other problems at the higher managerial level to ever consider stepping back, especially when you can make a step in the right direction that mattered for the franchise. Even leads at Obsidian have said as much, most after departing, and they've told me they felt helpless in their roles to do what they felt was the right decision. So it seems like what Chris is saying here is that even though he could make a positive impact on the Fallout franchise and move it in a different direction, he's telling us that the studio seems to be in shambles at this point. There's too many problems with the managerial level, there's people departing left and right, and that these managers are saying that they can't do much about it and they feel helpless over it. This once again alludes to all these interviews coming out from Obsidian saying they're open to being bought out, but it seems like a lot of things are changing on the inside where perhaps they are really desperate and need to be picked up by someone. I have no doubt in my mind that a publisher will buy them out. There's too much talent there, too much money to be made as a company to let amazing developers like Obsidian go, but it's just a real shame to hear this information. Also, the reason Monty asks if Chris would go back is because Chris is now a freelance, which means that he has the option to sign up with studios and work on different projects at the same time instead of being assigned to one studio and working on their IPs. So Chris could have the option to sign back with Obsidian, but he's choosing to not to, no matter what. The last question we'll be focusing on says, you've said that you don't think Fallout will leave Bethesda's hands again, and likely not go back to Obsidian. Do you think this would have anything to do with the quarrels Bethesda and Obsidian had during and after development, specifically the Metacritic thing? And like I said before, they're worried about being showed up, so to speak, because with Bethesda's patterns, the next Fallout game by them likely won't come out for a long time. So they probably want to fill that gap with something, no? Chris's response is, I doubt Bethesda worries much about what Obsidian is doing. Bethesda's likely way too busy on multiple fronts, but they also could speak to that. I have no idea. From an outside perspective, however, it appears when Bethesda likes working with a studio or see their potential, they seem to buy them, like Arcane Studios. They didn't buy Obsidian though, even though Obsidian is eager to be bought based on recent interviews. It might be for the best. I don't know what would happen to the devs if Obsidian was bought, but the upper management would likely come out okay with that exit strategy. Now, when this original information came out about Obsidian being open to being bought out, I thought to myself instantly, Bethesda should pull the trigger and purchase them, because that seems like another great developer to put under their publishing branch. They've worked together in the past, they've made great products, Obsidian is the GOAT, and seriously, this would just be a match made in heaven. Anyway, that'll wrap up the parts of the interview I wanted to highlight. There's actually going to be more parts to this interview. There's parts 2 and 3 coming out on the site, and also there's much more to discuss about this interview, such as what Chris thinks defines an RPG, which is a discussion amongst Fallout fans constantly. So there's a lot we're offering over at SugarBombed through this interview, so be sure to check it out once again in the link down below. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are also down in the description. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.